All right, welcome to the second part of this I don't know, waste of time, I guess. Exercise in wasting time. That's a fancy way of putting it. All right. Let's actually start off from the past paper actually. This is the only paper I have on hand, the 2018 one. If anyone has the 2019 one, it would be really nice if you could pass it on. Maybe we could discuss some of the questions here. So the first part, right? The first question, the first part, well, the second part actually, B, right? Briefly describe each of the following transmission methods with the use of a diagram, what we discussed previously. And the next part, C, discuss local area, wide area, and the first part, what is a computer network, its advantages. We can also talk about its disadvantages, and then OSI, that's a different video entirely actually. So let's start off with the second document in this guy's amazing handouts for yeah, and my PC is lagging to hell. My god, I need a new PC. I just need a new PC. Hopefully I can get one next year. Computer networks. The only reason I bought this tablet was because it had a pen, and well, now I have a bigger pen display, so I don't really need the Surface's pen. So it's like, why do I even have this thing? Like, what's the point anymore? I should just toss it away. I don't know. But yeah, I kind of need a PC now. Boy, those people are loud. So anyway, computer networks. Now we finally come to the actual subject, I guess. We talked about communication and why we have communication, different modes of communication, what we need for communication. We never did talk about why we need communication, but I mean, if you can't answer that, just just go home. Like, come on. Can't tell me why you need communication. Just go home. Anyway, classification of computer networks. Let's start off with what a computer network is. Now, a network is basically, come on, why are you disappearing? A network is a connection of two or more devices, right? It is a network. And actually, I don't have a way of splitting that word. Kind of doesn't make any sense if you split it up. Anyway, you can understand, right? Is a connection of devices through some sort of link. You're connecting devices to each other using some sort of link. That's pretty much it, right? That is a network. Now, what is this link? The guy has given the link is a communication pathway that transfers data from one device to another. There are two types of connections, blah 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 blah. Links are basically the way you connect the two devices, a pathway that the data goes through, right? Pathway the data takes is the link, right? Good. Now, obviously, if you have two devices, you can directly connect the two devices to each other. Give me a second. Let me just close the door. Yeah, I don't see that every day in a YouTube video, do you? Guy go and close the door. Actually, I've seen that in some videos, but it's not really. Is it professional? I mean, it makes it goes beyond professional, I guess. Yeah. So there are two types of connections. There are two types of ways of connecting devices, right? The simplest way is obviously you have your two devices device A, and you have device B, and you take the Ethernet cable, plug it into the first tower, take the Ethernet cable's other end, plug it into the other device, boom, connection. That is, you're connecting from one point to another point, from one device to another device. Now imagine something like, I don't know, you've used Bluetooth headphones, right? Well, I'm not talking about the fancy, like the buds with like separate, two separate pieces. I mean, like, the old school stuff where it's like you got the band around your neck. So you got the Bluetooth headphones and it's connected to your phone. There's your headphones and there's your phone. So it's a point to a point. It's a point to point connection, right? A point to point is also called a point to point is also called a unicasting. A unicasting network. It provides a dedicated, that means a separate, that means a unique, that means it is a link that only those two devices can use. It provides such a link between two devices. Only these two devices can use it. Only the connected devices can use the link, right? So the other features that this guy has mentioned, right? The entire capacity is reserved for transmission, most point in time, and the actual length of time, right? So, like, most of the other features that this guy has mentioned is derived from the fact that is a dedicated cable. That all of the bandwidth can be used only by those two devices. There's no traffic in the network, right? Since, either one person sending or one person is receiving. Maybe like if both devices send at the same time, there could be a collision, but, there's no, like, mass traffic, right? And, oh boy, I wonder if the background noise is audible. I don't know what argument they're having outside, but it doesn't sound good, and I don't want to get involved. These people are always at it. Anyways. No peace, no peace. I feel like going outside the hostel is going to get worse. It's no peace, man. It's no peace. Anyways, only the connected device can use the link. Therefore, it is like there's no traffic. There's, all the bandwidth can be used by the devices and all of those good stuff. Usually it could be a cable. Nowadays, you have Bluetooth, you got IR, you got what else? Bluetooth and IR are the main things that I remember, but you got your different ways of having a point-to-point connection. Next up, you have a multi-point connection. Multi-point connection is basically everything harder than just connecting your headphones up to your phone, right? Anything more complicated than that is a multi-point connection. Imagine, say, the university computer network. You got a server and you got multiple host devices and you got all those things connected to each other. Or like, imagine if you have, I don't know, a Bluetooth hub or something. Like, I think you can get Bluetooth. Oh no, actually, you can get like those 3.4, was it 2.4 gigahertz receiver thingies, the dongles, and then you can connect like multiple like keyboards and mice and all that jazz to it. So it's like multi-network, I guess. Or like, just use a regular computer network as an example, right? A multi-point network is also called a multi-drop or broadcast link. That's interesting. Multi-drop or broadcast link. Just two other names, right? Connection is one more than two devices are connected to each other, and there are many ways in which you can connect more than one device. Now you think about it, the ways in which you can connect more than two devices. Isn't that a network topology? Yeah, that's right. Under multi-point networks, I guess you could divide it into the different types of topologies, right? Like due to the fact that the link is being shared by multiple devices, obviously it follows that the capacity, that means the bandwidth or the amount of data that can be shared, that can be transmitted through this link, is shared between the different devices. Imagine you have 100 gigabytes per second downlink, right? And you got three devices, and they're all transmitting at the same time. So each device can get like a third of the bandwidth, right? Is that how it works? Is a ninth, like up and down? So anyway, it's less, right? So I think it's a third and a ninth. I forget. Anyway, so it's less than if it were a unique link, in which case one guy can just directly send the stuff to the other guy, and everyone's happy. But that's not how it works. So yeah, multi-point devices, multi-point networks. So yeah, under this, we have spatially shared connections and we have time shared connections, as the guy says. So spatially, space, like I said before, if we're sharing the space, that means we're sparing the bandwidth, right? Say if we have three devices and they're all transmitting simultaneously, transmitting at the same time, they're sharing the space, or they're sharing the bandwidth. Spatially shared connection. And we also have timeshare connections, which, I mean, obviously you can understand, it's just we're sharing the time between connections. So if we have 10 minutes of uptime, and one guy is going to transmit for 5 minutes and the other guy is going to transmit for another 5 minutes. So that is time sharing. You're sharing the space, that means you're both doing it at the same time, but you're sharing the space, bandwidth. Or you're going to be splitting up in time, but you're going to be able to use all the bandwidth at the same time. Right? Makes sense? Good. Then we directly come to these different types or these categories of networks. Again, you can just read through these pages and get a good grasp of what everything is. So I'd highly recommend you just go through the pages, instead of listening to some guy reading the slides for you. So that's something you should do. But yeah, if for some reason you want to listen to me read the slides, I mean, I ain't stopping you. I mean, I got nothing better to do, so yeah. So mainly we got our networks. We have our network. We can mainly divide it into a local area network, or a LAN, which is basically what you have at home. You got the metropolitan area network, or the MAN, the metropolitan area network, and then you have the wide area network, or the WAN. Like, if any of you have watched this one YouTube channel called Linus Tech Tips, like they have a live stream. I think it's every Thursdays or something. I don't know. Every Saturdays. So it's called the WAN show, because it's a wide area network, because everyone joins in from all parts of the world. I I thought it was a funny joke. I mean, good name for a show, the WAN show. It's a pretty interesting show. Anyway, so local area networks, the obvious, the basics. It's in your home, it's in your office, it's in a building. It's just a single person can create, maintain, do it. It's for a person and his personal devices. It's local. This is like a division geographically, right? The physical spread of the network. And so the local area network is the smallest, and it only takes up a small amount of space. It is usually, as the guy says, usually privately owned, links to devices in a single building, simple as like a printer in someone's home office and all of that jazz. Limited to a few kilometers, I guess that is something you can explain, And like, this is something, right? Say you consider your home Wi-Fi network as a LAN network, right? It's your home Wi-Fi network. Like, the Wi-Fi part is the main part. That's it. It's just a Wi-Fi network. You don't have like a wired connection. I mean, maybe you have like a PC hooked up to a wired connection, maybe, but like usually it's just one or two different types of media. Like a larger network, you could possibly have twisted pair. You could have an optic, like a fiber optic backbone connected to, like, I don't know, like a wireless microwave to a satellite, beaming it up to like a satellite, and then it's coming back down. And there's undersea cables, which maybe, I don't know, not trunk laid down in fiber optic, I guess. So like, there's so many different ways of doing the communication, and they're all like meshed together. And there's like maybe optical to electric conversions, maybe analog to digital conversion, digital analog conversions. There can be so many different conversions, bridges, switches, hubs, so many different devices, right? In a large network. But in a local area network, you generally don't have that. You just have a router or some sort of a central device, and that's pretty much it. All your devices connect to that, and that's that. So yeah, that's pretty much all I can say for a local area network. And the guy says that, most common LAN topologies are bus, ring, and star. Now, what are these topologies again? You really should know. Like, these are basic stuff, but we'll cover it. We'll cover it, right? We got your metropolitan area network, which is, a larger version of a LAN. It's not limited to a single building. It's not limited to a single, person. It can be owned by an organization. It can be owned by a government, or it's in the name, right? Metropolitan. What does metropolitan mean? Metropolis. I mean, if you read like comics and stuff, so you know that. A city, right? A metropolis, a city. The metropolitan area network is something that can cover a city or a couple cities. So it covers an entire city, and yeah, it can have different types of links. Maybe there's like a fiber backbone connected to, coaxial cables directly end to end, or maybe, there's maybe the system goes all like, there's a fiber backbone, and then like the access points are wireless, like citywide Wi-Fi. Oh wait, I remember somebody promised citywide Wi-Fi. Wait, what? Somebody was chanting Japan or something when he promised that, but neither of them happened. So I don't know. Let's let sleeping dogs lie. Let's let them lie. Right. So yeah, telephone networks. The guy provides an example. Many telephone companies provide MAN service called switched multi-megabit data services. I have no idea what that means. and I don't want to pretend to know, so yeah. LAN to LAN, yep. Basically consider it a connection of LANs, you know. Then we have our WAN, the WAN show. WAN is basically, how do you say? It's basically the internet. It's like if you take a bunch of LANs and you connect them together, you get a MAN, and you connect a bunch of MANs together. Wait, what? And you get a WAN, which is basically, you know, connection of connections, a network of networks, basically the internet. The WAN provides long distance transmission of data, you know, across a country, across a continent, across, you know, multiple continents, across a planet, maybe even from a planet to another one. I mean, we got like rovers on Mars and stuff, and they're sending data. Like we got like a bunch of satellites orbiting pretty much every. I don't think we have like a satellite orbiting Venus at the moment. We have a bunch of satellites orbiting Uranus, and if you didn't get that joke, you're too young to be in university. So yeah. So we got WANs, and yeah. A WAN that is wholly owned by a single company is referred to as an enterprise network. Now, the point to note here, right? Like the internet, as long as you have the infrastructure and like a means to access it, anybody can connect to the internet. Like, I'm not talking about like ISPs and stuff. Like, if you have the access, a way to access the internet, anybody can connect to the internet and access public resources like websites. But imagine the university network, right? Do you think you can access the university network from home? Well, even if you did have a physical link or a connection to their network, you can't really access it, right? You can't really access it because like either there's a firewall blocking external connections, or like you simply can't find a port or some sort of a connection to connect to the network, or like, you know, like they may have MAC address blocked certain, like every external device. Like I have to do that in the hostels because yeah, people steal Wi-Fi. People steal Wi-Fi, and you gotta like I kept a router once when I went home, and like the bastards came in and plugged an RJ45 cable into it to steal internet. Come on, man. Anyways, that's a different story. So yeah, WANs, right? If it is like private, you could call it like an intranet or an enterprise network, as I remember. I think this was asked in the previous semester, like what's an intranet? So yeah, there you go. There's your answer, an intranet. So it's like it's private, right? And the internet and the larger WAN in general is open. Anyone can access it. That's the WAN. And I don't think they're gonna ask this in the exam. I mean, this is dumb. So yeah, I mean, if you want to memorize this, if you got even less to do than me, you can memorize this, I guess, if you want to. Yeah. So that's that. That's that. Yeah. So that's that. Now we did want to talk a bit about multi-point networks and the way we connect those multi-point networks together, right? Let's talk a little bit about those network topologies. I do have, I do remember writing a note for that somewhere. Oh, here we go. Here's a nice picture of, you know, duplex and stuff that I wrote down. TCP/IP, again, not taught, so I ain't gonna touch that. Jazz. So yeah. Oh, I should have muted my PC. Can I? Oh, there we go. There's the sections. There's the ISO reference, computer networks, error correction, multiplexing. I swear I wrote it down somewhere. error detection. Is it a new section 1? No, I didn't. Okay. Okay, I didn't. So yeah, this dude did have a note. There we go. So let's start off with the topologies. Make it simple, right? Make it simple, right? Bus, you got your backbone or your trunk, right? And then from that you got different devices extending outwards. So this trunk would be shared, and then these drop line cables would be individual connections. Like this is a dedicated link. Yeah, this would be a dedicated link, and this would be the shared link. The backbone or the trunk would be shared, and the individual connections are going to be, well, individual, right? The guy had a note for that. Yeah, there we go. Commonly referred to as linear bus, multi-point, one starting and ending point. Yeah. The guy did actually explain all of this really well in his lecture. So, I mean, if you weren't listening, I mean, sucks to be you. So, yeah, read the slides, I guess. So, bus topology, got your backbone, and that is shared, and then your drop line cables. They're like each of these, this like connection point, there's like a T junction, right? So, there's that, and yeah. So, like you could easily ask someone, okay, what are the advantages and the disadvantages of, a topology? So the bus, we can take the advantages are, I mean, it's pretty easy to install, right? There's like only one heavy duty backbone cable and then like simple drop down cables. And like if one node were to die, that's that. I mean, one node died, that's it. The everything else is going to continue working perfectly fine. So, I mean, that's good, right? So, I mean, if a system dies, it doesn't affect the entire network. And what about adding new systems, right? You can just easily add like a T-junction, new drop-down cable, and new device. Boom. No need to, there's no system downtime when you add a new device. And there's not going to be any, problems when you're trying to set up a device, like disconnecting the entire network or like installing 2 to the power something cables. Boy, that would be terrible, right? But no, like bus is pretty damn easy to install. It's fairly cheap. I mean, the trunk will be maybe expensive, but I mean drop down cables are cheap, and it's fine. But it's cheap and it's pretty good for if you're doing like a small network, right? Small network, pretty good. Advantages: easy to install, cheap, and I don't know, adding devices is easy. Boom. So yeah. Right, so that is that. Disadvantages: a fault on the cable would disable the whole network. And by cable, I think he meant the trunk, right? So if there's a fault in the trunk, like the base, yeah, you're screwed, right? Like everything beyond this point is just not gonna work. Like it's just gonna like split the network in half. So it's just gonna screw it up. Problem in the drop down or problem in the device, no problem. Problem in the trunk, you're screwed. It's insecure because like all the data goes through this one trunk, difficult to troubleshoot, unmanageable in a large network. Yeah, I mean, huge network. Imagine the size of the trunk you'd need, right? And all the drop down cables, like, imagine like 200 computers connected this way. It'd be terrible. And apparently it's out of date. I mean, I can still think of a use for it. I mean, a computer, like in computer lab, it's probably easy to use. Oh well. So yeah, that's basically the bus topology. Nothing special there. The next thing is the ring. Now the ring topology. You got your devices connected to each other, right? Data can only flow in one direction, like, data can flow in one direction. And if a device goes out, the network dies. The network just dies. Any one device goes out. If the cable goes out, the network dies. If the device goes out, the network still dies. So like it's not really a I don't know, it's not really a smart idea to do that. And also like imagine this. So you got this PC, right? You want to send data to this PC. So you got A sending to B. You can't really send data this way because like I said, it's one way, right? So you gotta go 1, you gotta go 2, you gotta go 3, you gotta go 4, you gotta go 5, and then it gets there. Unless you have like a secondary ring, 2 rings, and one the data goes one way and the other the data goes the other way. If they got 2 rings like that, then yeah, makes sense. You can do that, right? Data goes one way, data goes the other way, so you can find the shortest path to each device. And if one of the links of the network rings goes down, you still got the other ring as a backup, right? But still, if a device goes down, if a device goes down, the network still dies. That's a disadvantage, right? Advantages, I mean, it's dead simple to install, right? Just daisy chain them along, PC to PC. What, you got 5 devices, 6 devices, you need what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lengths of cable? 6 devices, 6 lengths of cable. It's dead simple, right? If you're doing a dual loop, then 12 lengths of cable. That's dead simple, right? It's very good for small networks, easy to, I mean, you could easily add a network, right? Just disconnect this, put 2 cables, boom, done. New device installed. Pretty cheap, really cheap, but the disadvantages are if one dies, the system dies. If a cable dies, the system dies. And yeah, so when we're talking about the ring, we can talk about like the token ring system. So like I remember reading about this in the recommended reading book, and I mean the guy explained it as well. So like got a token and it's like being passed around the network, right? Ring around the rosy. I don't remember the rest of the song. Anyway, so the token's being passed around the network, and whoever has the token at any moment can add some data onto it, and the token with the data will be passed along until it reaches its destination, delivers the data, and then goes on and on and on and on. But imagine if that token just suddenly goes boop. You can't really send data now, can you? If you lose the token, you're screwed. So that's another disadvantage. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Simple, not really safe, not really good. Yeah, so bus, ring, star, and mesh. So the star, and then there's hybrid as well, but I mean it's kind of obvious what it is. So star, you got a central hub, and then you got your other devices. Central hub, and you got your other devices. So I mean it's obvious, right? Hub goes, network dies. Obvious. If your hub goes kaput, your network goes kaput. So that is a single point of failure, right? This type of network has a single point of failure, this thing. So you got to make sure that this single point of failure is a really good device, else, well, I mean it's just going to go down. It's also pretty cheap. I mean, if there's 5 devices, there's just 5 pieces of cable. So, pretty damn cheap to make. And what else? Disadvantage, single point of failure. Advantage, cheap. Advantage, easy to add another device. What else? Oh yeah, so the single point of failure, right? So this is like a mainframe server or a hub or something, right? An active or a passive device. So this thing's gonna be really usually more expensive, unless you got like RTX 3080s and the other devices. I mean, yeah, that's I mean, if you got money for RTX 3080s, why not just have a proper network? So yeah, central device is probably more expensive, therefore it's more expensive than a ring network because you don't need like a hub with a ring, right? You just need your devices, connect them up to each other, boom, done. So yeah, star topology. So the depth of a device does not affect the network. So if this drop down cable or this device dies, like the network's fine. It just can't access this one device, right? So depth of a device does not affect this type of network, right? So that is that. Troubleshooting is pretty damn easy. If a network, if a device, if like you're like, okay, I want to access, X's PC, and it's not responding, X's PC is dead. That's it. Like there's no troubleshooting to do. Maybe you could like check the port on the hub to see if like the port is broken or something, but I mean, most probably the PC is dead, right? Or the cable's dead. So it's like troubleshooting is dead easy. See what I did there? It's a good pun. So yeah, star topology. Pretty easy. And the last thing is the most complicated network. It is a mesh. Got one device, one device, one device, one device, one device. You're connected to everything. You're connected to everything. You're connected to everything. And you're connected to everything as well. Everything's connected to everything. Imagine how many cables you need for this. It's 2 to the... Is it n to the power or is it 2 to the power? I forget. N into n minus 1 over 2. And n minus 1 over 2 connections. Number of systems. So it's like it's 5 into 4, 20 over 2, 10 cables. I'm not going to count that. If I made a mistake, well, I mean, I probably made a mistake. I mean, I am pretty dumb, so maybe I made a mistake. But yeah, so very expensive, obviously. Like, god damn the amount of cables you need. Imagine if like each of this is like 1 kilometer. You need like 10 kilometers of cable. Imagine getting 10 kilometers of fiber optic cable. I mean, it's 2022, but I mean, it's after COVID, so now it's probably more expensive. And in this country, I mean, like actually, like recently, I bought this one packet of like murukku from the front store. It was like 50 rupees. The last time I bought that was like in grade 8 or 9, and it was 5 rupees. It's 50 now. Jeez. Anyway, so it's probably very expensive now. You don't find mesh topologies in this country, I guess. Anyways, so single network dies. Who cares? The network is fine. Single cable dies. Who cares? The network is still A-OK. Everything's perfectly fine. There's no problems. Single network, single cable, even 2 cables die. Fine, you can just route around it. That's, I mean, routing, right? So yeah, it's really hard to mess with this network. It's really, really, really fault tolerant, right? So that's the main advantage. Disadvantages, oh boy, there are plenty. It's expensive. It's hard to set up. Like imagine setting up all, like imagine if there are like 50 like, take the computer lab we have the exams in. Like we had 60 people in there, right? So 60 people. 60 into 50 over 2. 30 into 50. So 30 into 100 by 2, right? 13 to 100 by 2, so 150 cables. Imagine managing all. You're gonna take up more space for cables than you are gonna take up by computers. So yeah, you can imagine, right? It takes up so much space. Imagine troubleshooting all of that. But like, it does have its applications. Like, imagine like, yeah, in a hospital, or like banking, or like, imagine like, you're providing IT support for, like, imagine you're providing support for like the Apollo landing missions or something, the moon missions. Like, have you watched Apollo 13, the movie? Like in that movie, like like the computers, like they like have an infinite, like 2,000 wires coming out of the same PC, and I imagine like as a mesh, because I mean, you don't want those astronauts out there without any instructions, or suddenly lose access to oxygen or something. So yeah, critical, like mission critical systems, possibly good idea to put it on a mesh. Yeah, that's that. Yeah. Tree is, again, it's a hybrid, right? Tree is a type of hybrid. Tree and, well, hybrids in general. So what is this? This is the sort of star, right? Well, it's missing two parts, but, and if you take a star and if you connect it up, you get a tree, right? So like, if a node dies, like everything below that dies. If this node dies, everything below it dies, but these are fine. So like, that's a type of hybrid. And then there are like hybrids, like you could have a mesh connected to like a star or a ring. Hybrid basically means you take one of those four basics, hook it up together, boom, there it is. And just as I say that, someone posted the 2019 paper. Nice. I'll discuss that as well. So yeah, back to the paper. What is meant by a computer network? You can answer that. Advantages of a computer network. It's basically sharing stuff, right? You can share data, you can share files, you can pool, network resources together, you can pool processing power together, you can have instantaneous communication. So many advantages. Disadvantages, they could ask that. They could ask that. Disadvantages, we could say, I don't know, security concerns, data leaks, inappropriate usage of hardware. Like, imagine someone hacks into your PC and turns on your webcam. Jeez, the stuff that goes on in the hostels. You'd have to kill yourself if those got out. So yeah, stuff like that. B, simplex, half duplex, duplex, we did that. Local area, wide area, basic stuff. Advantages for each network. Local area, small, easy to maintain, more private. Wide area network, you can share more data, it's like global, and wider, like large amount of people can access it, so many things. So yeah, that is 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% of 40%. So that's 70% of 40%. 40% would be 25 marks, and then 75 is like 3/4 of 25, which is like what? Five, 7.5. So yeah, we earned 7.5 marks for the total paper. God help us. God help us. So yeah, I guess we could go OSI, or I guess we could do multiplexing next. That's cool. Keying, CSMA. Okay. Oh yeah, we could do error correction. That's something I know. Yeah, let's see how I do. I am falling asleep. So yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye.